What's going on, guys? All right, as you can imagine, I have gotten about 4 million text, voicemails, calls, emails, DMs about COVID-19, the coronavirus, and its impact on the real estate market. So, I'm going to try to be brief. This is actually the third time recording this. They've gone down in time each time. The first one was 25 minutes. The next one was 17 minutes. So we're going to try to make this one a lot more brief. So, here we go. 3 things. We're going to talk about the past, present, future. Going to the past. So this is not 2008. This is not 2009. This is not that economy crash that we had then. It's easy for us to get panicked because that's our most recent comparison. And we think, oh my God, we're headed back there. We're not. So that's the good news. We can flush 2008 and 2009 out of our memory for right now because that's not what's happening. To understand why that's not what's happening, let me just give you a brief rundown of how 2008 and 2009 happened. Basically, we built way more homes, gave way more money out than we should have ever done. We had, in Metro Atlanta, we were trying to build about 24,000 homes in 2007. And for perspective, last year, we did about 8,000. So that gives you a pretty broad picture right there. 24,000 versus 8,000. And we have a stronger economy now than we did in 2007, which makes it even more insane. The lending practices also were horrible. And basically what happened was that builders were building massive neighborhoods of like 700-800 homes, if not, some of them even went all the way up into the 2,000 range of homes. That's a huge development. And at the time, builders were able to select their own appraisers. So when a builder would build the first 2 homes and they had them for like 300,000, the next 3 that they built were like 310. Then the next ones were like 315, so on and so forth, times 700, 800, 900 homes. By the time they were finishing out these neighborhoods, they were going for like $400,000, $500,000, $600,000. And that's how, when the economy popped, when that bubble popped, people who were like, oh my God, my home appraised for $500,000. How can you tell me it's worth 3? It's because those were never really true appraisals of the value. That appraiser was actually working for the builder and working for the lender, and they were all kind of in bed together and really creating an environment where they were coming up with their own prices and they weren't really fact-checked off of anything. So they also affected the banks. The banks were very drawn out, which means they didn't have any buffer at all in the bank, bank holds. Like they didn't have much money. They weren't well funded because they were just lending money to everybody. Excuse me. Then on top of that, to compound all of these issues, a surprising factor that played a role, which a lot of people don't know about, is Roe versus Wade. Roe versus Wade happened, birth rates dropped significantly. Fast forward 28, 29 years, we didn't have a normal influx of first-time home buyers. So people were moving, consumerism was taking over, people were moving into these big McMansions with garages for their Hummer and room for Razor scooters, and they were selling their starter homes, but the problem is the buyer pool to buy the starter homes, they weren't there. They just weren't there. It was a significant drop, and the people who were normally coming into the buying economy weren't there. So all of those things factored into 2008 and that massive crash. So the good news is we are not there. So where are we right now? Are we in a recession? Technically, no, not yet. A recession is qualified as 2 quarters of negative GDP, right? As of right now, are we producing negative GDP? You betcha. Everything is pretty much on pause. Nothing is happening. We're not buying. We're not selling. It's just kind of stopped, which there is no stop. There's only plus and negative. And so by stopping, we negative. So as of right now, we are coming down off of the highs that we were in. One thing that's interesting, we did kind of know something like this was going to happen. Because on average, a recession or a drawback of the economy happens about every 7 to 10 years, 7 to 9 years, really. So for the last 40 years, there have been 14 individual recessions that have happened, right? So every 7 to 9 years, the economy pulls back, we have a recession of some sort, and then we go into recovery. The good news is that across the board, including the Great Depression, recessions on average last 362 days, which is less than a full calendar year. So even if we do get to the point where we do end up in a recession, in the big scheme of things, it's still going to be short-lived. The hope is, and the projections are, that this is going to be probably half that time. So at the worst case scenario right now, unless this just makes a horrible, violent turn for the worst, we should be on the other side of this within 6 months, which would kind of prevent us from going into a technical recession as it's defined. Regardless, stocks are going down. If you've been watching the stock market, we've had huge crashes in the stock market, but that's not totally uncommon and unfounded. Markets do not like uncertainty. And what do you have when you have a very odd and very concerning virus? You have a whole lot of uncertainty. Nobody knows really what's going to happen because we haven't been here before. They keep using terms like unprecedented and unknown and just, we've never been here before, uncharted territory, which is all true. It is true. And that uncertainty causes the stock market to be very volatile when we get into these kind of scenarios. The good news for real estate is that real estate is not nearly as volatile. Real estate historically always has been a very stable investment platform. So what we're seeing right now is actually people are starting to pull money out of the stock market and actually turn back around and invest it into the real estate market because they're pulling away from a very volatile market into something that's a much more stable environment. So that's kind of catching us up to where we are right now. As far as market conditions are concerned when it comes to APRs and rates, everybody saw the Fed rate reduced to 0 to 0.25. That is not the mortgage rate. The Fed rate is associated with short-term debt, not long-term debt. Mortgages are long-term debt, 15, 20, 30 years. So when we talk about the rates, 15-year mortgages are coming in at the lowest about 2.79%, and then 30 years are coming in about 3.29%. Still, these are insanely low. These are, historically speaking, way low. And then we are seeing the mortgage applications actually take a little bit of an increase lately because people are so drawn in by these interest rates. So the good news is banks are much better funded now than they were in 2008. They have much bigger barriers. They have much bigger buffers. The rules and regulations surrounding finance and surrounding banks are so much stronger that they're really designed to prevent what happened in 2008 and 9 from ever happening again. And God willing, in our lifetime, me and all of you watching, unless for some reason you're like 10 and watching this, and if that's the case, go play an Xbox or something, we shouldn't ever see something like that, of that magnitude, happen again in our lifetime. That's a good thing. Let's hope and pray that that's the case. And it should be, because it's so different than it was in 2007 and 8. But the thing is, when we look forward and project into the real estate market, what we're going to see for the next few months, we're going to see a time period of a percentage loss of what homes are selling for. Not the value, but what they're selling for. Those are two different things. The home values can stay stable while market uncertainty makes the sales prices come down some, right? So what that means is that it's a great market for anybody who's looking to purchase. If you're looking to buy or have the ability to buy right now, you're in a great position because the rates are at insane historical lows. And the home, even though it's going to still retain its value, you actually have an opportunity to potentially get these homes for slightly undervalued, which is really fantastic news for buyers. And when we recover from this and we're sitting here this time next year, the people who purchased under this time frame are going to be sitting in a great spot. And even if you are trying to sell your house and you get a slightly less overall percentage for your house than you were planning on, the good news is that that affects the houses that you're buying too. So if you sell for a slightly less percentage, you're also buying at a slightly less percentage. So, and couple that with the interest rates, even we're in a market right now where you can even take a little less for your house and still make an even better financial investment than you could a couple of months ago, which is kind of crazy to think about and kind of conceptualize, but it's the facts. It's how numbers and investment work in real estate. The biggest thing is, and one of the quotes that kind of ties all this up together is actually a quote from Warren Buffett. And he said, "You need to be panicked when people are greedy and be greedy when people are panicked." And people are panicked right now. And so if you can take this time and kind of start investing in really low stocks, or even better, invest in the real estate market, which is a much more stable platform of investment, then you're going to be doing pretty good fast forward a year or so. So the thing that I want everybody to wrap their head around is that this is temporary. This is temporary. We're going to recover from this. The market has always recovered. We recovered from the Great Depression. We recovered from the Great Recession. We will always recover from the market. It's just a matter of how long that takes. Our predictions are that this should be over within, and I mean like done, within 6 months from now. Hopefully, it's going to be even less than that. And also, just so you know, the stimulus packages and the things that the Fed does usually take 2 to 3 months to really trickle down and start affecting the economy and spurring the economy to come back to life. The hope is that in 2 to 3 months, we will be hopefully on the other side of the peak of this virus and on the decline of this virus. And if that's the case, then the declining of the virus cases and the kicking in of the stimuluses and the Fed action will meet and then start really kind of quickly taking us back out of this kind of downturn time period that we're in. I don't think this is a recession, and nobody has really pointed to the fact that this is a recession yet, because again, we have to have 2 full quarters. And like we said, hopefully this doesn't take some dramatic downturn, but assuming that this kind of goes the way that everybody is planning it to go, we will narrowly avoid a technical recession, and we will be coming out of this within the matter of about 3 to 4 months. Long story short, if you're looking to buy right now, great time. If you're looking to sell and buy something else, you're still in a good position. Just expect slightly longer days on market and expect to get probably a little undervalue for what you were originally wanting, but the home you're buying is also going to be in the same case. So your numbers and your ratios are going to be the same. But we will get through this. This too shall pass. That's the good news. You know, we weather all kinds of storms, and this is going to be condensed down to a paragraph in a history book in a matter of years, and we will look back on this and go like, hey, remember when there was no traffic in Atlanta? Mind-blowing. I know. It took a government shutdown to do it, but there was no traffic for the short term. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me. I love what I do. Clearly, I'm making a video about it at almost 10 o'clock at night. But this is what I live and breathe. So if you have any additional questions or comments about this, please feel free to reach out anytime. DM me, message me, email me, call me, leave me a voicemail, whatever. Maybe give me a little leeway on response time because a lot of people are reaching out right now, but that's a wonderful blessing to have. So, love you guys. Thank you all for your continued support of my business. And if there's anything I can do to help you guys, please, please, please don't hesitate to reach out. Y'all have a wonderful day.